here, and that should go in there. Hopefully this works. My YouTube is definitely working. I can always edit this later. Yeah, we're working. Are you ready to go?
I'm ready.
Here we go. And live video is starting in 3, in 2, in 1. We are now live. All right. So here we are, ladies and gentlemen, family, friends, everybody who's been waiting. Been trying to get this on the books for a long time. There's been a lot of chatter in specifically our industry, the photo booth industry, about how to handle Google Business Profiles. A lot of myths and legends and workarounds. And what better to set everybody straight than bring on someone who's been in this industry for a very long time. We've got Jason Brown. Hey, Jason.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming on. A lot of people are going to benefit from this. There's a bunch of stuff going on with Google Business Profiles. You're a former Google Business Profile product expert, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, and you've been interviewed on places like CNBC. Did you mention the Today Show? You've also been on the Today Show?
Yeah, I've been on the Today Show 2.5 times.
Oh my gosh, New York Times, all about like Google Business Profiles and like fake reviews and such, right?
Yeah, fake reviews, fake business profiles, talking about the issues with Google and trying to protect consumers along the way.
Yeah, and you've been in local SEO since 2016, so that's a very long time. That's what a little over. That's like almost 10 years now, right?
Yeah, it's
close to it.
Yeah, 8 years last month. So yeah, I mean, I've done a lot of SEO, but working for franchises for 3.5 years. So I know different markets and different pain points. And yeah, I geek out on SEO. I tell people like I eat, breathe, sleep local SEO, and I feel the same way about online reviews. So it's like, I felt like, I'm managing 350 franchise locations, and I said, oh, let me just become a review expert. I don't have enough on my plate.
Right. And you really don't, because I work with you, here and there throughout the year. And man, I don't know how you handle. You're doing a ton of work with all these businesses, especially with Google Business Profiles. So
it's it's a lot. I get emails like all hours of the day. I mean, people email me on the weekend, and I have to shut down on the weekend. And so like one person thought I was ignoring them, and I'm like, you emailed me on a Saturday. I'm like, I'm sorry, but like I get consumers that are writing out their competitors, or I get competitors writing out their competitors, or I get a consumer that just had a bad business experience, and now business is flooding their market with flooding their GBP with fake reviews, comparing them negatively. So it's always, it's I get a lot.
Yeah, it's, and I think a lot of people don't realize they're handling one business, but you and someone like myself, we're handling everybody's businesses, and it just compounds. And look, we're human. We need a little time off every once in a while. We got kids, we got dogs. My dog's upstairs. I locked him up. I locked him up. I'm not allowing him to come.
No, I know what you mean. Yeah, I know. Mine decide every time I'm on so like they're calm, and I have a 7 a.m. Pacific call every morning, and they're chill, and then all of a sudden,
well, it's switching hour.
Somebody's knocking at the door. Darn it.
That's all right. So yeah, so we're both dog lovers. And look, we've got our guest there. Oh, so cute. But we're gonna get a chance to talk to Jason when he comes back. I've got a laundry list of things that I've just scoured through our Facebook groups, questions that people have, common questions. We're actually going to probably take a look at one example. I've got one of my friends in Jersey who's ready to do something with their Google Business Profile, but they want to have the info from Jason. So hopefully he'll be able to help us out.
Sorry, is somebody looking for the previous owner from like 4 years ago? I'm like, no, Dave's not here. I was like, you knock on the door? Like,
are you sure they weren't there to like collect a postcard from Google because they're trying to verify that your house?
No, pin postcards have been scrapped for the last 2 years. They're completely gone.
Yeah, somebody actually posted that the other day. Well, a question about it, and somebody actually mentioned, "Oh, it's just a postcard." I'm like, man, that was so long ago. But that's why you're here. You're going to help us out. So
yeah, So let me just dive into postcards, right?
Yeah.
So postcards got scrapped because it became too much money to print and do the shipping.
Yeah.
Because one of the issues was, so every time you go and you update your GBP, which is now the Google Business Profile, which used to be GMB, Google My Business. So every time you would go and update it, your name, your address, your telephone number, your website, what ended up happening was it would trigger a re-verification. So then you had to send a new PIN postcard. So there was just tons of people that were constantly ordering, hey, it's been 4 days, I haven't got my PIN postcard. So they would like re-verify, send the need for a PIN postcard. And so Google was just wasting money hand over feet to these PIN postcards. And they're like, okay, well, we need to come up with a better way to streamline it, which is why they moved away from, email and phone verification, which very rarely you can trigger. You can still trigger it, but now it's all video verification. So they actually had a team that was manually reviewing them. But Google wants to save as much money as possible. So now they moved everybody over to the video verification, which is now being done with AI, and the pain points with AI with verifications.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. So, and Jason, this is Dave Stevenson. Dave, he's the owner and operator of the Photo Booth Network, where we're getting most of these questions. So he and I joined forces to create the Photo Booth magazine. So we're kind of like tag teaming on all these episodes. So Dave, meet Jason. Jason, meet Dave.
Sorry about that. We had a power outage in my area this evening. So
know what? It happens. I just had somebody knock on my door looking for the previous owner from like 3 years ago. My dog started barking. I was like, really? I'm like, the perfect time for this stuff to happen.
Well, our show, there's always something quirky going on. Right. So that's perfect. We've checked that off the box of things to do for the show. I'm sure something else is going to happen. So creating these was one of the topics. So it's important to understand kind of the process. So you have to have a Google account, right, to create your Google Business Profile, right?
Correct, which you can use any email address to create an account, right? So it could be jason@domainname.com. You just have to get it added to your Google account, and then you'll be good to go. So I mean, you can use a Yahoo. It doesn't matter what email address you use to add it to your Google Business Profile. You just want to make sure that you have, something created. I always recommend that you use your domain, so whether it be info or GBP at, domainname.com, so let's say, we were creating a GBP for photoboothmagazine.com. So I would do info at photoboothmagazine.com and get that created with Google. So now you've got a domain, you've got your GBP that's registered with your business, with your domain, right? Because here's going to be a nice example of what you want to do. So you launch your website. What's the first thing you're going to do with your website? Well, you're going to connect it to Google Analytics, GA4. Then you're going to connect it to Google Search Console. Well, now you're showing Google a connection between your domain name that's registered to your GBP and your website with your GA4, your Google Search Console. So it gives you a little bit more of an authority than just doing Jason Brown 1234 at gmail.com, right? Because now they can see that you're actually associated with that domain name. So it gives you a little bit more credence, with Google to sit there and say, okay, this is not some fly-by-the-night company, which a lot of people don't really realize. So that's the first thing I tell people to do. So when you reach out to support can sit there and say, okay, look, this domain is registered with it's registered with the domain. It's connected to GA4. It's connected with Google Search Console. We'll give you a little bit more respect than just a regular Gmail address.
Okay, and so does that come into play with when you're getting verified?
It used to be back in the day. Like it would help. It sometimes it would set you apart, so you didn't have to do a PIN postcard. You could actually do an email verification or phone verification. Right. But since Google's kind of moved away from that, so I think Google only does. They'll still do phone verifications on rare occasions, but it's for older businesses that need to get re-verified.
Gotcha. So now, just so we're clear, for the majority of the part, almost all verifications for your Google Business Profile are video verification. During this video verification, what kind of things are they looking for in this video? Documents, signage. Talk about that a little bit.
Sure. Well, before we can actually dive into that, let's talk about how to properly set up a Google Business Profile.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Because a lot of people this is what I see people get incorrectly, right? So let's say you have an office, right? An actual brick and mortar. Say you've rented an executive office, in a building. So the first line is always your street address, which would be, like 1, 2, 3, 4 Main Street, right? Then you have to click add line, to add your suite, right? So that's where you would do suite 1, 2, 3, 4, right?
Uh-huh.
What I notice people don't do is they'll add that suite onto the first line. Well, that's an automatic rejection.
Oh, okay. So they got to use the second line with the suite numbers and okay.
So if you have a suite or a building, you need to do that. Here's the caveat. Google does not use buildings or suites as part of the ranking factors. So unless you really truly need it, you don't need to add it. Because look, most people are like I dealing with franchises, so let's say Baskin Robbins or Pizza Hut or Domino's, right? If you're located in a shopping center, people aren't going to be looking for suite 317, right? If you're a Domino's, they're going to be like, okay, hey, look, there's a Domino's logo. I'm going to go there. Now, if they're going to an office building, they're not going to always, pull up their phone and be like, oh, it's suite 317. Usually what do? They walk up to the marquee, the director, and they're like, okay, it's 317, which means it's going to be floor 3. So those are the things that I tell people, right?
Well, let me ask you a question about that. So I've got one of my friends has a photo booth business, and they've moved, right? And their mother has a bridal shop at an address, but she wants to use that address also to register her Google Business Profile. So how does that play into the situation that you just talked about?
Okay, so in order to do that, you have to have a separate staff, separate office with permanent signage on the door, right? So something is going to look like it's not taped on there. And I've actually had somebody try to do that once. They actually printed a piece of paper, put it in protective binder sheet, and taped it to the door. And I said, that's not permanent signage. So you have to actually have permanent signage. So if it's a floral shop, you're going to 9 times out of 10, you're going to get rejected unless you actually show, look, we actually have an office. Now that's when your paperwork's going to come into play, right? So you're going to have to register with the Secretary of State or get a DBA, doing business as, for that business name with that address. And then what you'll do is you'll go and you'll shoot your video. You'll start in the street. You'll kind of get a little bit of the shopping center or the building or, whatever. Walk through the floral shop, walk to your offices, show your laptop, and then show, a document. So it's either going to be your Secretary of State filing, your DBA, your EIN, your city license, a utility bill. You'll want that on the desk, and then you'll want to stop and show that, because those are the things that Google is going to look for. And if they can't see, and that's where people fail the most, is they don't get that document to show that they're actually a legitimate company. Or they don't know what a utility bill is, right? They'll try to use like a bank statement. Well, that's not going to work, right? It's got to be like a cell phone, gas, electric,
That actually gets mailed to that address.
Right. So you actually get mailed that address. Trying to get an invoice for, for party rental supplies, that's not going to count, because you can send that. You can send that anywhere. Yep.
I can make that on my computer and print it out and say, oh yeah, look what I got. Okay.
Right.
So EIN, business license, the DBA, Secretary of State, utility bills are huge because everybody's got to have a utility bill. And that's kind of the lowest hanging fruit for our audience is a utility bill.
Right. Exactly. And, so again, gas, electric.
What about insurance? Like get the insurance bill.
Sometimes business insurance would work.
Okay.
Sometimes it could be registering a vehicle at that address too, like the DMV.
Yeah.
Especially if you're, because you're going to be transporting these photo booths, right? So you're going to have a vehicle that's going to that can transport this, your equipment.
Okay. All right. Next step. So we've gotten through that part. You got your address line, and you've done that properly. What's next?
Yeah, so then you just want to make sure that your zip code matches your actual street address, because sometimes what you're like, if you're running if you're running a brick and mortar or an office, sometimes I'll give you the incorrect address. So you always want to do a UPS lookup just to make sure that you've got the right zip code, because sometimes Google will sit there and say, no, there's a mismatch of the address and the zip code. I've seen that happen a lot. It's very infrequent, but it does happen. You want to make sure that you add your telephone number the first time and your website before you start the verification process, because anytime you go and you make an edit to any of your GBP attributes, whether it be your name, your primary category, your address, your telephone number, your website, one of four things happens. One, it'll automatically get approved. Two, it'll go into a pending review, which could take anywhere from a few minutes to several days to a week. Three, it could trigger the need for re-verification, which means you have to do the video verification process all over again. Or four, it triggers a suspension, and then you got to apply for reinstatement. It used to be a lot easier to apply for reinstatement, like they would close your case after like 3 weeks. Now you only get 2 chances to apply for reinstatement, and it's a pain to do. I'm seeing a lot of people get rejected, especially for SABs, even if you have all your document ducks in a row. It's a lot. Let's just say it's a lot easier to get a video verified GBP than successfully apply for reinstatement.
So let's talk about that reinstatement. So let's say you failed twice, and I need a GBP. What do I do?
Yeah,
do I have to recreate another one?
Yeah, either you recreate another one and hope like heck you still have a backup of all your reviews, or you have to go to the community forum and hope that a PE will help escalate it and get Google to reinstate it. But like, I was working with a garage door company, 6 months, we finally had to go and recreate a new one because we could not get support to reinstate its GBP. And all we did was go from an SAB to an actual brick and mortar, and we had all the documentation. They still rejected it.
An SAB, for those who don't know what that is, that's service area business versus. So basically, if you work out of your home and you travel to customers versus having an actual storefront.
Right.
That's okay.
So an SAB is when you're using your private residence and you're hiding your address.
Yep.
In which. So let's talk about that real quick. So if you're working from your home and you don't have permanent signage out front, you need to hide your address. Otherwise, you're not going to get verified with the video verification. If you created a GBP and you didn't hide your address, don't touch it. Leave it alone. Just know that if you run into issues, Google support won't help you for that policy violation. But I tell people don't touch it because, again, trigger re-verification, possible suspension.
Right. So let's stop there for a second, because the photo booth industry, and you and I have had this conversation before, and I've even shot it up the chain at the Google Product Expert forum. The photo booth industry, there's very little. There's like a handful of us or anybody who actually has a brick and mortar, and it's like I've seen it. Having photo booth as your primary category helps with the ranking so much. Now, a lot of the photo booth people are afraid to show their address, and they want to hide their address and be a service area business. But Google doesn't allow you to do that. Hide your address if you are a photo booth category as a primary category. So, what do we do? To show they have to show their address for now, right?
Right. Because, Google, in their infinite wisdom, decided that certain categories you have to show your address, and other categories you can only use if you're hiding your address. So, like I said, if you are an old GBP that was verified like a couple years ago, and you're showing your address and you're able to use photo booth rental, keep it. Don't touch it. If you are if you are going to go and create a new one, then you need to think about what's going to work for you in the long run. Is it to hide your address and use your home office, or is it going to make more sense to go and get an actual office that you can show your address?
They are allowing service area business or the photo booth owners now to show their address and get verified and use photo booth as their primary, even if they're at their home. So they are actually allowing them to do that now. But it's a very crazy process. Which is exactly what you said before, which is the video process. They have to get on a video. They have to show documentation. So they are letting some of the folks in.
Interesting, because that should not be happening. So if that's happening, then good for you. But if Google ever looks into that and starts cracking down, then there could be a whole. We could see a lot of suspensions or need to re-verify in that vertical.
Yeah. Well, I have a feeling that you've kind of barked up the tree a little bit too. I have a feeling that's on the radar for them to fix that, because there's not one photo booth company out there where people come to their business to use a photo booth, right?
Right.
It's something that's sitting in a mall, and a photo booth in a mall doesn't have an address. Like that's not a business. That's an amenity of a business. Oh, they have a photo booth, or Well, so I think it's something that they just
yes and no. I mean, so any of the kiosks in the mall can have a GBP. They just use the main. They would just use the main address, right? You're not, you don't have, like I said, you don't need a
That's
suite.
Crazy. Interesting. Okay. So it's still a gray area then. Like we're still figuring this out, because there are some people that are getting away with it.
Yeah. So the problem with Google was when they first created, Google Places or Google My Places or Google My Business or Google Business Profile, like it's changed so many names. It was always intended for businesses that show their address and never for businesses that hid their address. Because there was so much pushback on it, they finally had to be like, you know what, we need to reverse course and allow people to hide their addresses. Now, Apple Maps is completely different. You cannot hide your address and have an Apple Maps account. Right. Which kind of does a disservice, because we know that Yelp reviews are shown on Apple Maps. So if you have a Yelp business and you get Yelp reviews, then you can't have an Apple Maps, and you're losing out to people that are showing their address. So it's like, what do you do?
Right. Okay. Well, hopefully Google gets their S in order, because it's just the majority of the people in this industry, they do not.
Google get their ducks in a row?
Never.
Are you new here, Art?
Oh no, I know they're never going to get it. Look, I can hope and I can wish. I've got a fountain out there I'm going to throw 1,000,000 pennies into. I'm going to make a wish every time.
Hey, the reason why I became an online review expert was because it took Google 3.5 months to remove 17 out of 18 fake reviews for one of my clients. And they're like, why would you want to remove them? They're all positive. I said, because they're fake.
Yeah. Let's talk about that.
Huh?
Let's talk about that, those fake reviews. Now we've talked about how to get verified and, some of the caveats of showing your address if it's not, and the humps we got to get over to do that, is the fake reviews. So reviews are very important for ranking on Google Business Profiles. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, so there's actually only 4 ranking factors when it comes to online reviews. Your first ranking factor is once you hit 10 reviews. Okay, you get a boost. I actually had a case where on 2 GBPs they dropped below 10 reviews because they were running in a contest to incentivize for the reviews, and once it dropped below 10, they lost their ranking. So I've definitely seen it. The second ranking boost is when you have a steady influx of reviews, right? So meaning that you're getting several a week, over, so say you're getting like four a week, 16 a month, we've seen cases where when businesses stop getting reviews, their rankings start to tank. The next ranking factor is when your rating is on par with people that are in the map pack, right? So if you got like a 3.6 and Google showing 4.5 and above, you're not going to rank. And then the next one, which was leaked in that Google ranking factor leak study, was how much activity the reviewer that reviewed you has, and they're going to be more of a weight on their one review. If they're like a local guide reviewing a bunch of businesses in their area and uploading photos, you'll get more weight from that one review than you would from just an occasional reviewer.
Oh, that's interesting. I did not read that part. So what you're saying is someone who's reviewed more businesses on Google than someone else, or has posted more information, photos, whatnot, has more weight than someone who's just joined Google for the first time and left their first review. Correct?
According to that leak, and if whether we believe that Google data leak is credible or not, that's what was in there, which I thought was kind of mind-boggling. But I mean, I still need to verify it, because
Yeah.
look, I mean, so many people are like, I've cracked the code to this, and this. I know of the three. I don't know about the fourth one. And let's talk about some of the myths. There's no ranking benefit for having keywords in your review. So just, don't think about it. There's no benefit for having keywords in your review replies. It looks ridiculous. So just stop.
Mm-hmm. Okay. What about the name of the business? We're supposed to use our actual business, but I have seen people rank by putting their service as, it's not the exact name, but they're kind of keyword stuffing. I still see that as a ranking factor, unfortunately.
Yeah. So when it comes to your ranking factors for your Google business profile, it's your business name. So if you have keywords in it, so say your Charleston photo booth rental service, you're going to get a ranking factor. You're going to get a ranking boost for having your keywords in there. Next, Art already touched on this one. It's your primary category. So if you don't have the right primary category, you're going to do yourself a disservice. 2, it's your address and how close you are to the proximity of the user.
Yeah.
I touched on your overall rating. So if your rating is below your competitors or you don't have 10 reviews, then you're going to be at a disservice. But I have seen, but there were cases in the last couple of years where businesses with no reviews and no data were actually outranking, legitimate businesses that have been around for years. And don't think about, well, I should be outranking, competitor, blah, 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 because I have more reviews than them. It has nothing to do with the review count. It's how many reviews are you consistently getting? How close are you to the user? And my good buddy Wardy Oberstein put out a study years ago with Rank Ranger, where it was a 2-for-1, right? So they show 2 here and 1 here, and so what you notice with the map pack is they put 2 guys right here and 1 guy right here, and so you may be closer to this guy than you are to these 2 guys. But just because the way that Google puts that map pack is going to have an impact on whether you're ranking or not, which is why I tell people to use Places Scouts, because Places Scouts will do, an 11 by 11 grid where you can actually see on the heat map how well you're ranking. I know Art, I think you've seen one.
I use Local Falcon also has a similar thing. They have a heat map and they show you how you're ranking the various parts as if someone was in that area. It's kind of cool.
Jan Chabert, who works for Sterling Sky, that was his baby that he did on the side. And I think he ended up getting a partner. But yeah, between them and Places Scouts, but Places Scouts has a lot more data and bells and whistles than you get with Local Falcon.
Yeah, I'll have to check that out. Man, where were we? We're kind of all over the place.
We're talking about reviews and then ranking factors and keyword stuff.
Yeah. What about all right? So the fake reviews part. We've got people that want to buy reviews or leave themselves reviews. What are the caveat? What are the pitfalls of doing that? Buying reviews and writing yourself a reviewer. And I've seen that a couple of times. People have written themselves their own review.
Yeah. I see it a lot. People are like, well, reviews equal money, so I need to get reviews. And I'm like, okay, you missed the whole point, right? Like, first off, don't think of it as reviews, think of it as feedback. Your clients are telling you areas that you excel in and areas that you need to improve in. If you don't fix the pain points, then you're always going to have a crappy rating. If you're listening to your clients and they're telling you all the things that you're doing great and you continue to excel in those areas, then happy clients, happy customers are going to recommend you to their friends and colleagues, right? Because we know not every business is perfect, right? Like when I got married, our DJ completely botched it, but he apologized. He says, look, I just got some bad news. My mom just got diagnosed with cancer. You know what? We were totally cool with it. Like, if he hadn't been like, hey, I was having an off day, then yeah, we would have left negative reviews, and but he, he admitted it. And that's what it is. It's all about how you interact with your clientele and your client base. But if you start going and buying fake reviews, the FTC is weighing a new policy where they can redress businesses up to $50,120 per fake review. That's per fake. So let's say you have 10.
Holy shit!
Do you have $500,000 to pay that fine?
I refuse to answer that question.
Right.
No, most people don't. Neither do I. I don't have that much money.
Right. And so this is going to be so if this goes into effect, which I think it's going to before the end of the year, it's going to be game over for a lot of businesses. A lot of businesses are going to get hurt. And here's the thing. Me and another guy, we have a list of 30,000 businesses that have fake reviews. It's easy for us to go and find them. It's easy for consumers to spot them. Like they know if a review is legit or not.
Right.
So
you can get in trouble. You can get in trouble.
You can get in trouble with the FTC. You can get in trouble with the Attorney General's office. You can get in trouble with your local DA. Anybody can file charges against the business for faking reviews. And
Google take down your listing.
No, Google cannot take down your listing. But I did see cases last December where some personal and criminal defense lawyers got busted having fake reviews. Google A, removed all the reviews, and B, turned off the ability for them to get new reviews. So there are cases where they won't allow you to get new reviews for a certain period of time, or until you go and you apologize and you work out a deal with Google. But if you lose the ability to get reviews, like I said, you could lose rankings for going 6 months without a single review.
Yeah, and that's one of the ones that I got wrong. I thought that if you got fake reviews and you got caught, they could actually suspend your listing. Google could suspend your listing.
No. What they would do is what we call the red hen effect, red hen protocol. So Sarah Huckabee Sanders, I'm not going to get political on this one, but she walked into a restaurant during the Trump administration, and it went viral because they kicked her out because they said the staff didn't feel comfortable having her there. So the business got review bombed, both negative and positive. And so because of it, and because of what just happened the month previously with the law offices of Aaron Schlossenberg in New York, where he told people in a market, this is America speak English, they did such a horrible job trashing his Google business profile. They changed his category to Mexican restaurant, uploaded photos of mariachis and poop and urinals and this, that, and the other. So Google decided, okay, we need to come up with a way to combat this so they can lock down a Google business profile. And we actually saw this happen in the beginning of COVID in March of 2020. Businesses could not update their information. They could not get reviews because Google didn't have a staff that can sit there and vet and verify this information was correct. And so they can lock down a profile. And we've also seen cases where, Google has actually removed the ability for businesses to do Google posts because of policy violations, or they'll send you a warning. Like when your post gets removed, they're like, continuing to, violate this, our terms of service, we can limit the ability for you to do Google posts.
Okay. All right. So they can basically handicap you, essentially is what's happening. Okay. Now, what do you do when you get fake reviews? How do you get those removed, or how do you combat that?
Yeah, if you get hit with fake negative reviews, then you got to hire a service. I know a really, really good service. Do I even say it, or should Art say
it? Yeah, you say it.
Yeah, it's one of the things I specialize in. So I've done some work with Art and his company, removing fake reviews for some of their clients, or removing fake positive reviews for some of their clients' competitors.
Yeah.
There's a
what's your website? Say it. Go ahead.
Yeah, reviewfraud.org.
Okay. I'm going
to one of the cases. Yeah, one of the cases I worked for on Art and his in Hogland Analytics was a lawyer down in Texas. He had 8,300 reviews. I reported them within 3 weeks. It got dropped down to 1,000.
Yeah, that was pretty amazing.
Right?
So, guys, on the bottom of the screen here, it's reviewfraud.org. That's Jason's site. So if you need some help getting some of this fake review stuff taken care of. And amongst other things, that's his website, reviewfraud.org. But yeah, it was a matter of like a couple of weeks. All you had to do was reach out to your secret agent over at Google, and boom, done. So don't mess around with fake reviews, guys, because there's other people other than Jason, but Jason's probably one of the top ones, and they'll make sure it gets taken care of.
Yeah. Now, if you guys, all right, I want everybody to take notes. You guys want to know how to increase your Google reviews?
Yes.
Okay. Run a photo contest.
Run a photo contest. Okay.
So you're doing photo booth rentals. So what's happening? People are doing what? They're taking photos of your photo booth. Say it's a wedding, graduation, anniversary, blah, 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 whatever the event is, father-daughter dance, right? So then what you do is, of course, you have services where you're like, hey, do you want us to text you a copy of your photo? And they opt in. They say yes. Well, now you've got their telephone. Now you got their text message, right? Their cell number. So what you do is you select, say, 30 people for the month and say, hey, we're going to enter you in a contest if you upload that photo from our photo booth, one entry per social tag. So upload it to Google, to our GBP, our Yelp, tag us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, whatever. Each time you do that, it's an entry into the drawing. Now pick a great prize that you can give away, that people are going to want, whether it's a, Stanley tumbler or, tickets to a ball game or sporting event or, something
or a free
cool.
Photo booth.
Right. Yeah.
For an event.
Free photo booth. And so you just pick 30. And so what happens is when they upload that photo to Google and to Yelp, Yelp says, hey, would you like to leave a review? This does not violate the terms of service of Google and Yelp or the FTC. If you were to say, hey, would you like to enter a drawing to leave us a review, that would be a violation. So here's your workaround. Now, here's the other thing. Both Google and Yelp, they love what's called user-generated content. So that photo and that review, you got dual bang for your buck. So now you're showing people what the experience looks like, and you're getting that review on top of it.
Oh, that's genius. So the fact that like someone else has posted a photo to your profile is very valuable, because it's not just me just spewing to my own profile day in and day out. It's
right.
It's like a thumbs up from real community.
Right, because because what they're doing? They're doing either a Google search, and then what else are we getting? Click-through rate. Google loves it when people are clicking through your profile.
Right. So click-through rate also helps with that too. Is what I'm hearing.
Exactly.
Okay. What about using other services like Bird Eye or something like that? Is that illegal, or is that frowned upon? Like if I text somebody and say, hey, would you leave me a 5-star review? And they say, yeah, I'll leave you a 5-star review, and you use your Bird Eye to send them your link, is that frowned upon?
It's not frowned upon at all. But here's the thing. You have to always make sure that they opt in to receive text and email messages, because if you start sending them text and email messages without them opting in, then you could be sued and you could lose a lot of money. I mean, so like the other day, I had somebody reach out to me, and they were looking into the competitor, and they're like, hey, our competitor was using Broadly to review Gate. Well, they sent me the email ask. And when I said, when I looked at it, it was like, if I did private feedback, it was like, do you want to do private feedback or still review us on Google? So that's totally acceptable. As long as you're allowing them to leave the review, that's fine. So you just want to make sure that your review solicitation service is not asking for a review on Yelp, because that always violates Yelp's terms of service. But yeah, as long as they're above board, and there's so many out there, Podium, Bird Eye, Gather Up, Broadly, reviewing. There's a lot of companies out there. It's just what's going to be more beneficial for your price tag. What can you actually afford? If you do it and you can do it yourself, as long as you've got that database of emails and phone numbers, you could do it yourself.
Yeah, so it doesn't have to be text. It could also be via email reach out, right? A lot of us use CRMs, which automatically send a post-event thank you email. So we could just include, hey, if you want to leave us a review, here's our link to whatever it is, whether it's Facebook, Yelp, Google. It doesn't have to necessarily be Google, so we can do that too.
Exactly.
Okay. Anything else on reviews that we should know about and be warned on?
Yeah, I mean that's pretty much it. Is like look, it's about learning from your customers. If you're
Yeah.
listening to them, and then here's the other thing: when you're replying, let's say you get a negative review, right? Like you're going to get a negative review. Like you can't satisfy everybody, but you have to take your emotion out of the equation and respond to them. What you're trying to do is you're trying to take them offline, so you can work to a resolution with them directly. And then also, people are going to judge you more on your response to the reviewer than the review itself, because sometimes people can tell this person's unhinged or this person's just negative. And then when you're responding, you're like, hey, we're so sorry that you had a bad experience. We really want to learn about it more. Please let us know, and we'll work with you.
Yeah, I got a bunch of questions coming in from the crowd. And before we get to some of these questions, one is you touched on once you get to 10 reviews, you see kind of a boost. Is there any other level, 15, 20, 25, 30, where you'll see some kind of a boost?
I haven't. Mike Blumenthal thinks that there might be one when you hit 100, but I haven't seen it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so not proven yet, but there may be, but it might be 100. I personally think that, so 10 is the mark. Once you get 10, you're kind of in the game. I've seen kind of a boost at like 20, 25, but then that was years ago. Then the algorithm always changes. So that could come and go. But I think that if you see somebody with 80 reviews versus 70 reviews, it's more of a visual thing and a trust factor at that point for the end user, for the searcher. Okay.
Exactly.
All right. So I'm going to go to a couple questions, and they're going to kind of be pouring in. We got Larry Sella. Larry, thank you for joining from Maryland Mojo Photo Booth. He says, that was his question basically. For instance, if 50 gets you one boost, 100 gets you good. That answers your question, Larry. Check Me Out Photo Booths says he gets a zillion emails regarding someone trying to get me to sign up for SEO. Is there something in my profile that's showing something weak? That those sharks smell that makes them want to contact you, or is it just a blanket kind of contact?
Once you start showing up online, they look for you, or they'll do searches. They'll look in the local finder. Just ignore them. Never respond.
Yeah, because they're all pretty much scams.
Yeah,
I get probably 30 a day. We can increase your SEO, or we found something in your website, that could be fixed.
Yeah, or they'll come to reviewfraud.org and they'll try to sell me fake reviews. I'm just like, did you even look at my website? Really?
What about those businesses like Yext or some of those other listing businesses? Are there any, like, I know that some of them actually hold your listing hostage. Like if you stop paying, they take your listing down. Is that still going on?
That's a myth. That never happened.
Okay.
But your data can easily get corrupted over time because all these entities are looking and trying to update their business records. I use Yext. I find it very helpful. There's some things in it. But here's the thing: when it comes to citations, there's only like a handful you need. So your GBP, your Facebook, Yelp, Yahoo, Bing. If you're showing your address, it'll go into Apple Maps. Once you create those core ones, then it usually triggers what we call the knowledge panel, which is your business listing on the right hand side, right? So it'll show your photos, your business name, your address, your hours, your reviews. It's the difference between not having that and having it. But the days of having thousands of citations, and NAP is dead. So NAP stands for name, address, phone number.
Yeah.
Like Art says, you can keyword stuff your GBP name, and it's not going to match Yelp, Yahoo, Facebook, Bing, Apple Maps, and you'll see a major impact. Plus, Google knows that people are using call tracking numbers on different the different platforms. So and like I said, Google doesn't even use your suite as part of your address. So NAP's been dead for like 3 years now. People are just slowly waking up to that.
So
I go hat tip to Mike Blumenthal for breaking that at Local U in September of 2020.
So I actually had
2019.
I had something happen to me where I got a bunch of reviews on my Google Business Profile because I was motivated and I reached out to past clients and I reached out to just the recent ones. And I was getting a bunch of reviews in, and all of a sudden, some of the reviews weren't sticking. Is there something that happens if you get too many reviews at once?
No, there isn't. It's just because of me, and people like me. So Mike Blumenthal, Joy Hawkins, Tom Waddington. We've been beating the drum about fake reviews. Ben Fisher, and so because of that, and because of the pressure from the FTC and the government, Google is trying to crack down on fraudulent reviews. Unfortunately, it seems like they're taking out more legitimate ones than fraudulent ones. So, unfortunately, the spammers know how to, beat the algorithm, and people that are playing by the rules don't know how.
Right. Okay. So it probably was just a glitch why those reviews weren't showing.
Right. And then what you can do is you can reach out to support, get a support ticket, and you can go to the Google community forum and see if you can get a PE to look into those reviews. What you need is a screenshot of the review notification or from the reviewer. It shows their name and part of the text, and see if they can go and find it and reinstate it.
Yep. Okay, cool. And see if we got any more questions known yet. Let's see. I want to go down to SEO, right? So one of the questions is, can your website affect your Google Business Profile ranking and vice versa?
100%. So that was one of the other ranking factors I forgot to mention. But think about if you're running paid ads, you're sending it to a well-optimized landing page. So your GBP should either be linking to your homepage or to your actual location page, right?
Okay.
So say you're Charleston photo booth rental, and you have a Charleston photo booth rental page that's well optimized for those terms, and that's ranking better above your homepage. Then link your GBP to that homepage. But yeah, if your website's loading slow, you have a lot of technical issues, you have a bunch of 404 errors, or you're not ranking, then that can definitely hinder your GBP. You might actually see your competitors with no website outranking you too.
Yeah. Well, how does that happen? So I got a competitor who doesn't have a website. Then that goes to the original factors of reviews, location of them to the searcher, and their business name.
And the fact that they don't have a website, that's having a negative impact on their rankings.
Interesting. Okay. That was a question I had. Let's see here. Posts. So posting, if I post photos on my GBP or make a blog post, not really a blog post, but a post on GBP, does that affect my rankings at all?
None whatsoever. So Google Posts only lasts for 6 months. However, people are seeing a lot of traction with offers. So offers seem to be having a better impact. But it could trigger a justification, right? So in a justification is when you're looking in the map pack and it says business, review mentions blah blah blah, or business offers blah 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 services, right? So whether you're doing products or it's being pulled in from a Google post or it's being pulled in from your website, right? So I tell people to do one blog post, one Google post per month. One Google post every 4 months, just so that we used to have one fresh. But there's so many other things you could focus on to move the ranking needle compared to Google posts, which don't really do anything. So if you can do products, services or what you offer, because that will trigger that justification as well.
Okay. Going back to location, what about virtual offices? So those are okay, like going to a Regis office. Is that okay, or is that not okay?
Yeah, a Regis, WeWork, they're all fine. The caveat is it cannot be a hot desk. I mean, you're not running you're not sharing desks with other people. You're not running a conference room that you rent by the hour. So you you need to have an executive office with permanent signage.
Okay. What about UPS and FedEx and PO boxes?
Never. That's always been frowned upon. We do see occasionally where there's old businesses that were able to get verified because of the PIN postcard, but it's easy enough to get those removed.
Okay. All right. So let's go back to these ranking factors. I did pull from Bard. Is it called Bard now? Gemini, right?
No.
So people are gonna say, well, I Googled it and this is what they said. So we're gonna do a quick fire here. You're gonna say yes or you're gonna say no.
Okay.
And here, I got it right here. You can't read it,
Yeah.
but it says, here's some tips for optimizing HEVP. You ready?
Mhm.
Manage the profile weekly.
Nope.
Follow guidelines.
Yes. Kind of.
Upload photos and videos.
No.
Get and respond to reviews.
50-50, yes, get reviews, but responding to reviews isn't a ranking factor, but it is a converting factor.
Okay. Post often.
No.
Add products and services. Some of these you've already answered.
Yes.
Okay. Research competitors. Yeah, right? Because that's more, yeah, this is literally what they said.
That's how to optimize,
Google Gemini.
yeah, how to optimize your GBP. Look at your competitors.
Yeah. This is from Gemini. Use the business's actual name.
No.
Okay. List a local phone number versus using a 1-800 number.
I'm on the fence on that one because, yeah, it is good to have a local number just for people, but it's not a ranking factor.
Okay. Include correct hours of operation.
Yes, but it's not a ranking factor. So,
let's talk about that one. This is juicy.
Yeah. So people always think, look, this person was not a client, so they can't leave me a negative review. That's not true. As long as they had a direct personal interaction with the business. So I needed to get my car smogged, right? In California, you have to do it every 2 years before we re-register a car. So I went to the smog place that I went to twice before. I was able to get in and out, no problem. So I go there on a Saturday morning. I show up 20 minutes before because I want to be the first one in and first one out. I waited a half an hour and nobody showed up after they opened.
So it's a bad experience.
Right. So I left a negative review because their hours on both Google and Yelp so that they opened at 8 and it was 8:30 and nobody had shown up. And so I could have gone to another business, which I ended up going to after the fact, and I ended up having to wait, another hour. And so I left a negative review. And so, yeah, it's a good idea to have your hours, but here's where it's going to be tricky, right? So photo booths, I'm going to say, are going to be like dentists or lawyers. Nobody's going to show up to your business unannounced because they're going to call you or they're going to fill out a form fill on your website. So if you put yourself open as 24 hours, because, nobody's going to call. I mean, is somebody really going to call you at 2 a.m.? No. But we do know that that hours of operation is kind of a ranking factor because if people are doing a Google search and businesses aren't open and there's a lot of businesses in the area, then Google's going to show the businesses that are open or maybe a business that's opening soon.
Right. So business hours is a ranking factor. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I have actually had Google call me to see if I was open at a certain time. Have you ever heard of that happening anywhere?
Yeah, Google does do integrity checks on accounts, so they'll call. Sometimes they'll call a business next to you to see if that business is actually located there. So Google does do that because Google wants to make sure that the information online is actually accurate, right?
Right.
So if you're a brick and mortar, let's say you're a Domino's and you put yourself open as 24 hours, but we know that the Domino's doesn't open until like 10, 30, or 11. Well, showing that you're open at 8, or 2 a.m. and there's, some guy that's been partying and he's like, yeah, I'm going to order a pizza. Domino's is open. It's 2 a.m. Google's going to be like, no, that's not true.
So now having the wrong hours, and not being truthful in your listing, would that go against the Google guidelines?
Yes.
Okay. Which going against Google guidelines could have you shut down?
No.
No, it wouldn't have you shut down if you did.
Not for your hours, no. But it could require a reinstatement.
Okay, so you could get suspended, and you'd have to get reinstated potentially.
Well, you would have to have multiple issues besides just your hours to get suspended.
Okay, all right. And here's one that, like, I know there's AI sometimes behind it. Is it possible that Google uses automated calling to test whether these businesses are answering the phones?
I haven't heard of it, but it could possibly happen.
Okay, all right. And the last one, writing a compelling description, we've already talked about that. How much of a ranking factor?
Your description has 0 ranking factor. Adding keywords in there
so stuffing, don't do it.
But if it's too salesy and it doesn't sound like you're describing the business, it'll block a reinstatement.
Oh, wow. That's crazy. Hey, so we don't have any more questions on YouTube. Dave, are you on Facebook right now?
I am.
Any questions from our Facebook crew? Because I don't have Facebook open.
I don't see any. I've been bouncing amongst the different groups.
Okay.
Just to
cool.
see, where we have everything posted and streaming. And I haven't seen anything. Just a couple hellos, that's all.
All right. Well, people are going to be watching this later because nobody watches this stuff live for the most part, except for our buddies, Larry and Marco. They're watching. And we do have 7 other people watching live right now. So any other pieces of information that you can give us, Jason, that would benefit the photo booth industry? We've covered the fact that, we know that the photo booth category, you have to show your address. I've personally seen, and some of us have been able to get by that in terms of showing their address and getting through verification. Anything else you can think of that these business owners should be doing at all to manage their Google business profiles or to avoid getting suspended, best optimization kind of points? Anything else, or did we cover everything?
Yeah. So if you do a brick and mortar or you do an executive office, upload photos of your signage, right? To show that you actually have an office with a placard on it. Upload the photo from the directory. So that way when Google is doing an integrity check, so whenever you contact support, the first things they do is they go through a series of checks, right? They're like, are there photos showing the business is located here? If they get a no, then they're like, we can't help you.
Okay.
So you want to make sure that you have photos showing your products, showing your vehicles. That's one of the things I always tell businesses to do. Upload photos of your staff. Because don't upload a bunch of empty shots of an empty office. Make sure there's staff in there. What's going to look more appealing? Curb appeal. Is it going to be it's going to be an empty office, or is it going to be an office with staff and people chatting and talking?
Okay. We got another question here. This is a common one that you and I have had for the dawn of time. This is Marco checking out photo is it a good idea to run Google ads to help organic ranking? I'll let you answer this one.
So Google ads do not help in organic rankings, but Google ads is an instant win, whereas organic is the long game, right? So like Art's got a pool table, behind him. So there's going to be those easy shots for him to hit. That would be PPC. And that's going to help set him up for those longer shots that are going to be harder for him to get, because now he's going to be able to get a ball out of the way while he sets up for his next shot. So think of PPC and LSA as quick wins. But here's the other thing: like if you do location extensions in your PPC, then you can actually rank in the map pack, and then that would be a ranking factor.
Now, here's one of the things that I always thought of that how Google Ads can help out with organic is brand awareness, right? So if you say that they say the click-through rate can help with your SEO if they see some activity happening in the SEO section. So if I do Google Ads and I have brand awareness, and then later on I'm getting clicks through my organic because people have seen me in Google Ads, that could have a lift effect, I think.
Oh, definitely. Look, consumers are stupid. They don't understand Google or rankings. So if they see your PPC ad and they see your LSA ad and they see you in the map pack and then they see you below the map pack, they think that Google's rewarding you because you're the best business out there, and one of those 4 is going to convert.
Yep. Okay. All right.
I got a question.
Yeah, go
ahead.
So
I know a lot of people use VPNs for their businesses. Is there a way that Google can track, like if you're doing a review and you do give yourself a review, but you're going through a VPN and creating, like you're from somewhere else, can that be tracked?
Yeah, Google can tell if the person actually interacted with your business, physically.
Okay.
Google knows everything.
For the most part. I mean, again, scammers have figured out a way to bypass it, but yeah, I mean, a lot of times when I've been able to flag reviews, even like the star only ratings, which Google usually rarely takes down. But Google's been able to tell if it's, somebody not affiliated with the business, so say, we saw a social media post, because I get a lot of those, right? Like, people are commenting about either the election or Israel-Palestine conflict, so I'm dealing with a doctor who posted his thoughts on it, and he started getting review bomb from it. And, I was able to get the star only ratings removed, which is very rare to get removed. But Google was able to tell that these people never interacted with this business.
Wow, it's crazy.
Yeah, I've seen so much when it comes to online reviews. I mean, if I did a podcast on the stories in cases I've worked, it will just be like flabbergasted.
Yeah, let's just take a look. So I don't know how updated your website is. I'm going to go ahead and just show everybody what that looks like here. I'm going to load it up.
Yeah, don't judge me on the web. Don't judge me on the website. I threw it together for free.
I'll help you out with that. Hold on. Let's. I'm gonna just present this so people who are watching actually get to see something cool.
And actually, that's a good question, because there's a lot of people that I see that are starting in the business and sign up for like your Wix or your free websites to get started. How does that affect them through Google and stuff?
Yeah, so I love Wix. Wix has grown leaps and bounds over the years. So it's easy for people to do plug and play, select a theme, upload images. They've grown leaps and bounds. Morty Oberstein, my good buddy, is now working there and has overhauled the overall SEO. But here's the nice thing: anytime you create a new page or a post, it automatically gets indexed with Google. So they automatically ping Google servers. So that's an advantage. And look, I think you're paying like $300 to $400 for the year for the website, and now you don't have to worry about hiring an expensive web designer that wants to charge you $2,500 to $5,000. And because their websites load really, really fast and are super well optimized, you're going to get a lot better than these fly by the night. I'll build you a website for $199.
Yeah. So here's my take on that, Dave. Is the online builders? There's Wix, there's Squarespace, there's like Weebly. I use Duda,
Shopify, things like that.
Shopify. There are all these online website builders. Then you've got WordPress, and that's its own beast. And there's some people that swear by WordPress. I hate WordPress because it's complicated and things break. With these online builders, which is what most of the photo booth people they really need. They don't really need WordPress. The online builders, they automatically update, so you don't have to worry about this app. This plugin didn't update because it was built by a college student. You didn't upgrade to the latest WordPress version. Things start breaking with these online builders. That doesn't happen. If someone tells you you have to have WordPress, Google doesn't look at your website and say, "Oh, it was built by WordPress. We're going to rank it." They don't care what platform it was built on. It's just the right things have to be on the website, the right external signals, the right external signals. That's what Google cares about.
Right. And the people that are going to tell you need WordPress are the people that can only work on WordPress, right? So they need to use the plugins, they need to go in and code or do their fancy optimization, and they can't optimize when it comes to Wix, or they can't, which is super easy, or they can't optimize when it comes to Squarespace. I would push people over to Wix over Squarespace any day of the week.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, I've had some people say the exact opposite of that, but I guess as long as you're ranking and as long as you get what you need, it doesn't really matter what platform you're on.
Right. Well, as long as you know what you're doing. So again, when it comes to Squarespace, if you can work with a great programmer, then you can run a great business. Like my buddy Craig Mount, who runs Nerdy Nuts off of Squarespace, and but he knew what he was doing, and he hired a professional web design builder. But again, because
you got to know what you're doing.
He was doing e-commerce, he couldn't do WooCommerce and WordPress. So it's all about what you're looking for. But before you move, you also want to make sure that you're setting up your 301 redirects properly, because last thing you want to do is have a bunch of broken links or 404 errors, because now you did yourself a disservice moving over to a new platform.
Yeah. Cool. Anything else, Dave, you wanted to pick Jason's brain on?
I mean, those were the ones that had come up that I know I've seen comments and discussions about. Recently in some of the groups.
Right. So I just want to reiterate that just one of the other big questions is, if somebody's going to move their address from one city to another, you're going to have to re-verify.
Yep.
If you change your phone number, you may have to re-verify. If you change your
Not with
name, no,
not with
not
phone,
phone
not
numbers.
with phone number or website. Not, but again, it could either get automatically accepted or go into pending review.
Okay.
The only times you're going to get suspended or re-verified is if you're changing your business name, your primary category, and especially your address.
Okay. All right. So those three. So business name, primary category, and address. Got it. But phone number, you just may have to get through some hoops a little bit. Okay.
Yep.
Cool. Well, Jason, I want to thank you so much for coming on, and I'm sure I'll talk to you over the next couple of weeks with the other stuff that we've got going on.
Definitely.
If you want to check out Jason, his site, reviewfraud.org. If you need help with reviews or anything else, feel free to reach out to him. You can reach out to me, and I'll forward you his information. But yeah, thank you very much for coming on.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. Nice meeting you.
Yeah. All right. Thank you. So next week, Dave, we're going to have to figure out who our guest is for next week. We'll figure that out. I've got a couple lined up that might come on.
Yep. I got a few fires in the iron, or the irons in the fire.
Nice. And the following week, we'll be in the Atlantic City area for the DJ Expo. So we'll do some live. We'll do live from that convention. All right, everybody. Thank you very much for watching. Jason, thank you again for coming on. And we'll see everybody else here hopefully next week.
Sounds good.